What's happening, boys? How we feeling? Beautiful Wednesday here in Toronto. Beautiful weather.
Beautiful Wednesday. Still this morning, I'm still struggling. And Hayes, you're an expert at this because you're heavily involved in this. The idea of giving people shots on the golf course, I really have a difficult time. It just doesn't seem real to me. It's like fake golf. I don't know. It just seems weird. I know it's the rules.
You have to have it, man. You can't play with people that aren't at your same level unless you're giving out strokes.
I play with this one guy, and his name is Danny. I'll save him his last name on the air, but it's like doesn't win. It's like got to get more shots, and it's like.
Yeah,
and how many shots are we dealing with here?
It's just too many. It's just it never ends, and I don't know. I just want to play golf like normal golf, like you see on TV. It's like you win the hole. That's just this normal stuff. But
that'd be great if you find someone that has the same handicap as you. I mean, that's the way it works, dude. There's nothing you can do about that.
It's really difficult to compete when you're just handing over the shot.
Brutal. It's brutal. I just went through it. I had my member guest a couple weeks ago. My buddy Adam and I've been doing it a few years, and I've had my lowest number. I've been playing as well as I can play. I got my lowest number.
And let me guess, you got crushed.
I got crushed. We got crushed. We didn't play well. We were horrible. Like, we played poorly.
I know, but don't you find it weird that all those tournaments, like it's like guys with 20 handicaps win it?
I got stroked to death. Like, yes! I got every single hole. It's like, are you popping? Yes. I'm like, I'm done. There's nothing I can do. Like, par threes, they land on the green. They're laying net zero. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out of the hole. There's nothing I can do. And you can't complain about it because, I've been on the right side of that a few times too. But that's the game. That's the game. Well, did you guys see Scotty Scheffler at this? This, to me, is sandbagging. Scheffler's a sandbagger because he said down at East Lake that he's playing off a +7 at his home course. That guy should be a +10 or +11. There's no way he's only a +7.
Dude,
no chance.
+7. To my knowledge, the rumors out there that Tiger Woods, like in his heyday, just like Scotty Scheffler, was a +7.
No way.
To my knowledge, that's as low as you can get.
I understand that. I believe technically you're only supposed to hit like that number because then you're aiming for like a 65 if you shoot your number. But I'm pretty sure when Rahm was chugging a couple years ago, when he was at the top, I think he got to number 1 in the world. I'm pretty sure he revealed he's at a spot down in Arizona that he was playing off an 11 at his home course.
Was it Drager's course?
No, it was a great dude. I'm telling. Well, because him and Tony Finau play together all the time. Finau shot 59 like 5 times there. Like, those guys go out there in shorts and T-shirts. These pros, like on their home course on a Tuesday where they're out there messing around. 62 for fun, 63 for fun. Plus, there's no pressure. They hit every putt. They get up and down. I'm telling you, man, I think Scheffler should be playing off a +10, +11 in order to have any shot at beating that guy.
And he didn't seem to have a problem with it. He's like, I got to hand over sometimes 15, 20 shots. Like, who would want to put a peg in the ground and a ball and tee it up against Scotty Scheffler if you're a 14 handicap?
I know. That's the amazing thing, is the idea of competing against him and thinking that you could actually beat him.
Well, intimidation alone is worth 10 shots because you're just like, I'm playing against this guy, and you have it in your head that he's going to birdie every hole.
Right.
You're just mentally, you're screwed.
Right. Immediately this guy's going to do that.
Do these guys ever lose, though, like to a guy, you have to give shots up. I understand. But would a guy like Scheffler, who's only given 7 up, would somebody beat him, like get in his pocket?
Possible. Yeah. I mean, for sure. Like, let's say he has just a decent day and shoots a 68. If you're getting 7 and you're a scratch and you shoot the lights out, you're going to beat him. That's the nature of golf.
The only way he gets beat is if he plays a +2, some kind of golf degenerate that's a stick,
right,
and is comfortable around Scotty, who shoots 65, and it's like, you're not beating that.
Yeah, it's Tony Romo. Like, he plays with Romo all the time. Romo's a scratch. I'll bet you Romo beats him from time to time. 3 times out of 10, I'll bet you Romo gets him.
Romo has said on record that he plays basically when Scheffler's home, they play every day. And he's never seen him shoot over 70.
Yeah.
Never.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Wild how good he is.
See, what is the disparity, though? Like you just mentioned. So there's a lot of people that play golf and a lot of people that can get good at it, but they never get to the level that, Scheffler and all these guys are at. But if they get to close to a scratch or they're a +3 or whatever.
I know, but
like,
it's moons away. It's moons away.
No, they're still
what I'm
way
saying
away.
is, could you imagine, like, there's a lot of hockey players, like guys that, on a Tuesday night at, what's your St. Mike's or whatever, pretty good players. Like, what would McDavid have to give up in a foot race? Like, stuff like that. Like,
That's a great question.
Like, what is the equivalent for other sports? Like, you just mentioned Romo. Like, Romo being a quarterback. Like, there's guys who are, hey, I threw the ball. James Duthie's a quarterback, he claims. You know what I mean? Like, what do you have to give up to other athletes?
I think if McDavid showed up at a guy's men's
idea.
league team, if McDavid showed up on a guy's men's league team, the opposition, you'd have to spot them 10 goals.
Oh, I think it'd be more than that. Way more than that, man. You like if it's a bunch of like university players who played in the O or whatever, fine. But if you're talking, the beer league boys, firefighters and stuff.
If Doogie and JP are wheeling around on the other end, you got to give them 20.
It's 100. No, it's 100.
Oh,
yes, it's and if it's a 60-minute game, if JP, Doogie, Joe from the Bridge, Joe Bones in net, Al's brother, it starts 100-0 when the puck drops. Yes,
that's
it does.
Stupid talk.
No,
that's
it's not
stupid.
stupid.
10-0. That's it.
It's not. Man, he would literally take the puck. Go
What
down
if
the
Joe
middle of the
Bowen
ice
stands
and score.
on his head? What if Joe
Okay, let me take Bonesy out because Bonesy's a reputable goaltender in the greater Toronto area. Bonesy deserves more respect than that. But you put the average beer league goalie in net, like we're talking Ken Reggett's pads, like a big neck guard where the guy's got his cage up all the time. He's so hot.
Yeah.
It's 100 goals.
In a
It's
60-minute game?
goals.
It's not 100 goals. It's a stupid
It might be 50. It might. If McDavid decides, the thing is McDavid will never ever bear down. I think we saw
but that's
him at
what
a
we're
beer
saying,
league
though,
game.
Noodles. We're saying he plays at top speed. Like this guy comes out for warm-ups and he's flying.
Right.
And it's like, no, McDavid, you play this like it's Game 7 Cup final.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Like 100 may be extreme.
70. It might be 70.
It's like 50 to start the negotiation. It's 50 because he would win every draw and go right down the middle of the ice and score every single time. And he'd just do that 50 times.
I know. There's only so much time, though. That's why it's 10.
Okay.
You don't give
No.
50
10
goals.
is so low.
10 is
a
stupid,
period.
dude.
10's a period.
10's way dumber than me saying 100. Way dumber than me saying 100.
Yeah, like
way more stupid.
I say 60 because that's 20 goals a period, and that's what he's capable of doing.
Yes,
I
agree.
remember coming back, playing in the NHL, playing in like just some summer leagues where it's just regular dudes, and you're like, I don't have a goal yet. And I know I wasn't McDavid, but I was pretty good. And it's not like you just go out there. It's just
the fear.
You're saying if guys are literally Bambi out there and they're ankle burning and can't even move.
I'm
you
saying
get regular guys out there that could shadow McDavid.
Right.
It's 10.
Then it's
10.
It's more than 10.
What it is, you just mentioned, like you came back and it's like, we're talking McDavid tries his hardest.
Right.
Like Scheffler's trying his hardest. Like these guys are trying their hardest. Like I remember that show, was it Pros versus Joes
versus Pros, yeah.
I swear to God, Paul Coffey was on it and was just running this guy through the boards like he was mad. Like I swear on my life we'd have to go back and find, because there was a hockey component to it, and there was a guy who was being a hero, and Coffey hated his guts. And I swear it was Coffey. Maybe it was somebody else, but it was a grizzled like all-star, and he wasn't having any of it, and he kept running the guy through the boards.
I love that. That. It was Paul Coffey. JP just said it was Paul Coffey.
We got to at some point. I want to see it because I remember it. Koff was so mad. He was can opening the guy and just burying him into the boards because the guy was being a hero before. But you think of Scheffler and these guys trying on their course, McDavid, like Romo. What would a quarterback what would he have to be doing?
I don't know what the equivalent could be where I don't know what that is. If it's a throwing competition, if it's hitting a wide receiver on a post route, on a hot route, whatever it happens to be, it gets to a point where you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't do it, and that there are levels of athletes like golfers who are really good golfers who can play with him. They're not going to beat him, but they can play with him. They can be respectable. They're going to go out and shoot 70, 72, 74. And maybe once in a blue moon, they will get him. He'll have an off day. He'll shoot 73. They'll shoot 71. They get him. Like that could happen with guys who are +2, +3, who played college golf or on a mini tour somewhere. They could get him. But if we're talking the average guy, you look at me, an average, decent golfer. Obviously, it's impossible. I can't compete with him, and I never would. And he has to give me. I can't even imagine how many. I think he needs to give me
15.
I think it's at least 15. I think it's and I'd have to play from like the tees that I play from, and he plays from the tips. Because if I played from the tips, he'd have to give me 30, or 20, 25. I mean,
Bonesy just texted me and said, "I need to remind you that I am 73." Okay. He goes, "It might be 200 goals."
Okay, I like that self-awareness. That's why Bonesy's the best because
yeah.
And now people are sending in pictures of McDavid and Draisaitl. I think they're in Toronto. They might be up in Muskoka, but they're practicing and they're preparing for the season. But I can tell the guys they're playing against are like OHL players or college players. That's different. Like, obviously, they're not going to beat those guys.
They play in a beer league in Aurora, I think. They honestly play in a beer league in Aurora on Tuesday nights with guys.
And I'm sure it's at a rink that, where it's OHL players, college players, former NHL players, other NHL players. That's a different story, and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the average guy out there with 2 different colored socks, gloves from the 70s, a wooden stick. That guy's getting destroyed.
Send us some
McDavid.
notes if you think there's a sport where the Joes would have any kind of reasonable shot against the pros.
I know one.
Darts. It's darts.
It's
not darts.
Dude, it is darts.
You're disrespecting darts.
I am disrespecting darts 100%. You can drink and smoke while you're doing it.
That doesn't matter. Some of them are better when they do that. But like those guys, you put them, you get one of those big crowds over in Europe where there's 5,000 people, 10,000 people. Do you know how much your hands would be shaking throwing that dart? You couldn't do a triple 20. There's no way you would hit one of those.
No, I wouldn't do a triple 20, but I would get close. I would be able to hit the dartboard. And that's basically what you would be looking at.
But that's not being competitive with these guys. That's
Dude, there's some guy that's a
dartboard.
booze can in England that just lights up a dartboard on Thursday nights every week that could go up there and perform.
That's true.
You know the guy I'm talking
disrespectful.
about.
I'm telling you, man, not compared to the pros.
All of a sudden, you're a dart connoisseur.
I am. I'm a man that respects a dart player, and I respect the dart profession.
Is it a sport, though?
I don't think it really is.
Well,
I don't think it is.
go.
I don't think pool really is.
Well,
but pool's
pool
the same thing, though. Pool, like every guy thinks they're great at pool. Every guy. You get a couple of drinks in someone, they go to a pool hall or someone's got a pool table. Everyone thinks they're the best.
The snooker.
Yes.
Snooker champ.
And they're not, right? And there is someone who's got his own pool cue. He wears a tux every once in a while. He goes in leagues, and those guys will dust you.
Who wears a tux?
I don't know. I never understood why they had to wear a tux. Remember back in the day, like whenever you see pool or snooker on TV, they had to be in a tux?
It's ridiculous.
Like, there was that female lady, like she was called the Black Widow or the Black Spider or something. She would kill everyone. Everyone.
I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. At Hayes TSN, at Overdrive 1050. Send us your thoughts on the handicapping system to make it a level playing field. Whether it's the NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball. There's a lot of different things we can apply it to.
Yeah, like if our guys from North Bay, the Bulldogs, went down to Dallas and played the Cowboys on a Sunday afternoon, what would the score need to be to start the game?
I mean, those are legitimate like football players that are decent, but honestly, it might be 100.
No.
Yes. It might.
You're getting out of hand.
No, I'm not getting out of hand.
Tossing around 100.
Do you know how good the NFL is, dude? Do you know how much they would manhandle those guys?
Well, there's linemen who are 380 pounds who can run a 4.7, right?
And touchdowns are 6 points. It's not like getting to 100 is crazy in a football game, but they would never score a point. On the Cowboys defense, they would not score 1 point. And that's just a straight fact. And I love North Bay. I love the battalion. Shout out. We still got. I'll try to get the helmet on later. The Bulldogs. The Bulldogs, not the battalion. That's the hockey team. Anyway, I'm watching clips here online. Bill Belichick has turned into this media darling.
Yes.
It's just like when John Tortorella, right in between jobs, Torts becomes a media guy. He was with TSN. He was with ESPN. This guy hated the media for 40 years, despised them, hated everything that they represented, everything that they were trying to ask him. He was never fair with the media. He was never willing to open up. He is getting a new job every hour, basically.
Yeah.
Like I saw he's taking a team he's taking a job as a strategic advisor, whatever that means, for the 33rd team, which is a football website. He's on with McAfee once a week. He's doing the Manning cast, I believe, every single week. He's doing, I think, a podcast. He's doing Inside the NFL with Ryan Clark, Chad Johnson, and Chris Long. He's got his own show. Like, it's crazy. Bill Belichick is everywhere. And I wonder if he just doesn't. Maybe this is it. He doesn't really care to even coach again. He's just like, I'll do this for another 5 or 10 years.
Did you see today that he joined Instagram?
Yeah.
You're kidding me.
You didn't see that?
I did not see that.
Billy Belichick. Look at this guy. That might have something to do with the fact that he's 70-something years old and his girlfriend's 24.
Yes. She probably said.
He's probably on Snapchat too. Yeah, because Instagram, I don't know, or like younger people using Instagram still. I think they are, but TikTok's next, Snapchat, he'll be on all that. And listen, that's a pretty cool profile. 8-time Super Bowl champ. Like that's a pretty big mic drop. I got to start following him on Instagram.
What's the coat he's wearing though? Is that an alumni coat? What is he's wearing a coat?
I don't know because the Hall of Fame is like gold.
Yeah,
but it looks like
yellow coat.
He's got a red coat on or something. It looks like it's got a logo in the top left corner.
Hey, it looks good.
Yeah, maybe it's the Pats Hall of Fame. I don't know if he's been inducted into that yet, though. I'm not sure he has.
If it was really him, it's a picture with him, no tarp on, sneaking out of his girlfriend's house.
That's what it should be. You're
That's
right.
what his first video should be, is him critiquing that video, the ring camera.
You're right. That should be his profile pic, him with no shirt on trying to get out of her house. That's exactly what it should be. But yeah, Belichick's everywhere, man. And listen, he's a very captivating guy. Like he's someone that obviously everyone knows. He's a household name. He's an interesting guy. Everyone's got a different viewpoint on him. And he knows football so well. Like he breaks down everything. And I was watching a video last night of him breaking down the New England Patriots. Like who would know them better than Bill Belichick and how they operate and where they're going to go. And, Gerard Mayo played for him for a long time. He was on his staff last year. He knows the head coach really well. He knows Kraft really well. He knows everything that could possibly be going on with the Pats. And
are you somewhat shocked he didn't get it? Like he didn't get like a primetime gig with one of the big networks to do like the pre-show on Sundays, Monday. That's what I thought he was going to be doing.
I'm not sure he wants to. Like it's actually really an interesting play that Bill Belichick, how old is Bill now? Into his 70s?
Yeah.
Is kind of doing like a very modern media profile, where he's not committing to one place in particular. He is doing stuff with ESPN. He's on with McAfee. He's on with the Manning cast. He's doing stuff again with the 33rd team. He's got his stuff going on with HBO. He's just kind of a free agent that's like, call me up, and if you want to work and I want to work with you, I'll do it. If not, I've got no reason to commit to anything. And I kind of respect that as well because Bill's like, he's got all the money in the world.
Well, Hayes, maybe the other thing is he doesn't want to dive too deep into it like a prominent role where it's a consistent role because he thinks that there's a phone call that can be made.
Yeah,
maybe
so
that's
keeps
an
it
option.
loose. Yeah, it keeps it loose. So
you know that he doesn't want to go away completely yet. Do you think that it's like...
yeah, I mean, it sounds like he wanted to continue coaching this year, right? Like he was genuinely intrigued with the Atlanta job and they went a different direction.
But everybody says the same thing about him where it's like when Bill takes control, he wants everybody out and control everything. And everyone's like, that's not the way it's going to work. And I don't think he likes that.
And I'm not sure he's going to have that opportunity again. I would think someone would want, like people keep linking him to Dallas. He's never going to Dallas, ever.
I would never say that, man. Crazier things have happened.
True, but do you think Jerry Jones is giving up his control for Bill Belichick? No chance. No chance.
Well, for $10 million, if he just says you're coaching the football team and that's it, and you better leave me stay out of it, I think he would do it.
Well, I mean, listen, Bill Belichick. I guess what I'm saying is it would be on Belichick to adapt to Jones. It would not be the other way. There is no chance Jones is ever relinquishing his profile, his job, his managerial role, him speaking with the media all the time. He's not doing it. He doesn't care about Bill Belichick. He craves that spotlight. And I don't think Belichick would work well with that. In fact, I know he wouldn't. Based on the way he's operated for 30 years in the public eye, he would hate the idea of Jerry Jones doing Monday press conferences and talking after games and calling into radio stations. And I don't see how the two of them could possibly work. But
big egos too, right? Like they both have been so conditioned to doing what they want. It's been their show. But stranger things have happened. You know, you see people that are older, like, to hell with it. I'm just going to do this. But I think he wants to stay flexible. He's getting as much media as that. The only person I see more on social media is that Hawk Tua girl or whatever.
Yeah,
Haley
she's
Welch.
Everywhere, man.
She's everywhere.
She is. I give her credit. Like
she is milking it, man.
She's like, you want me on? I'll come on. You want me to do this? I'll do this. You're going to pay me to show up? Like someone has advised her, just ride this wave as long as it goes. Because when that wave crashes, you're gone. But she like her 15 minutes ended 5 minutes ago. Like she's into minute 20, 21, 22.
But she's still doing it. She's got a podcast. She's showing up at parties and stuff.
Got a huge profile online. Like she's got a massive amount. She's got more followers than Bill Belichick. Way more. And I'll bet you she continues to have more than Bill.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna have. She got a lot of followers online.
Yeah.
All right, Stan Bowman's coming up in 10 minutes. We got a lot to get into with Stan because think about what's happened since he took the job in Edmonton. 2 offer sheets that they just decided to walk on, and I'm surprised that they walked on both. I thought they were going to match on Holloway. I thought they would keep him. I thought they needed that youth, that speed in the bottom of that lineup, but they chose not to. And Philip Broberg, obviously, he was a part of that as well, and the Blues got both. So that's happened. You've got Leon signing. What does this mean for McDavid in the future? You know, what's going to happen with Evander Kane? There's a lot to get into with the Oilers. Like, they're the most interesting team in the league right now.
Keep in mind, like, this guy's jumped on a moving ship. Like, this is, you know, it was Ken Holland's show right until July 1st or whatever it was, or the draft, whenever Stan came in. Actually, he came in
after that.
Yeah, but he's had to jump on a ship where, you know, he's really had to make some decisions, or the group has had to make some decisions. And, you know,
pretty
he's
good
inherited.
Ship to jump on.
I was just going to say he's inherited a pretty good situation, too. Like, let's not forget that. You know?
Big time. And including Draisaitl, who was going to sign regardless of who the GM was. You know, with all due respect to Stan, and I'm sure he'd be the first one to admit it. Leon wasn't sitting there saying, I'll only sign, you know, if Stan Bowman's the GM. Like, he wanted to stay there. I'm sure they were already well down the road, and I'm sure Bowman kind of pushed it over the top. They probably had to reveal to him his plan and how he wants to make this team competitive and continue to compete for Stanley Cups. But you get Draisaitl basically falling in your lap saying, I'm here for 8 years. I'm here for 9 because this thing kicks in a year from now. You got McDavid for 2 more years. You got Bouchard under control. Skinner took a big step, and he's still on the cheap. Hyman's on the cheap, like based on his production, one of the best value deals in the league.
Yeah.
So, it's a pretty good gig to have. That's for sure. So Stan Bowman's coming up this hour. Jerry's back. Jerry's percentages in about an hour. We've got Jeff Saturday on the show coming up at 5:05. Get his take on what's going on with Jamar Chase and Cincy. We talked about that yesterday. He did practice today, full pads. It looks like he's good. You know, it looks like they're going to work some sort of new contract out, and he's likely going to play this weekend. We'll see.
So he just sat out for all that time, and now he's just going to have 2 practices and play.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean,
I'll tell you, that's how you get hurt. Like,
he was limited action today at practice, I think is the report. Limited today in practice. So he's not going to push the envelope. They're not going to push the envelope. But he wants to get paid basically what Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb got paid.
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts. We can get into this later of your boy Aaron Rodgers. Like, what's this guy? You know, what you think type of season you think he's going to have?
I don't know, man. I'm having a tough time. Like, I'm having a tough time trying to get a read on that because he's so talented. But I'm concerned. I'm
concerned about only one thing, and that's his Achilles. Like, how a guy his age is going to come back from that. I don't care about the crazy stuff off the field, what he thinks, what he does.
Wasn't he arguing with receivers and stuff at the?
Who cares about any of that?
He always is doing that.
Yeah, that's part of that goes part and parcel with that guy. I'm just concerned. Like, if there's any quarterback you'll be watching every time they drop back, there'll be no other more watch than that guy.
Yes.
Every single snap.
Right.
He lasted 4 last year.
4 snaps. The first time he gets flushed out of the pocket, everyone is going to collectively hold their breath.
Yeah.
Because it would be an incredible story. Like, it would be an unbelievable redemption story for him to come back off that injury, battle back, bring the Jets to the promised land. It would be awesome to see. But I'm not buying that ticket. I'm not a believer in that. I don't think it's going to happen. We'll see what Saturday has to say about it. Jeff's coming up just after 5, and Mackenzie Hughes coming up into the 6 p.m. hours as well. He is on his way to Royal Montreal, and he's a part of the international team for the President's Cup. So we'll catch up with Mac in about 90 minutes or so. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Stan Bowman coming up here in a moment. At Hayes TSN, at Overdrive 1050 on Twitter. We were talking about different sports and how you might handicap them in order to compete with professionals. And someone tweeting in asking if Al's brother got a 25-meter head start on a 40-meter dash against Usain Bolt in his prime, who do you think would win?
Let me ask you this. 100-meter dash, and be serious. Don't be stupid. What kind of head start does Al's brother need to finish victorious?
On Usain Bolt in his prime?
Yeah.
It's
halfway? Is it halfway?
It's, yeah, no.
70.
It's
no.
65 meters.
It's 70 every day.
It's 65 meters because, like, we have the info. Al's brother ran a 10.6 40. And Bolt ran a 9.58. So, like, I mean, you can do the math. I can give you the exact meter where he has to start for it to be a photo finish.
Doogie, do the math on that and tell us where he needs to start.
Do the math. Do the math, Doogie. Figure that out for us.
70.
Yes. I think he starts. I think you're right. I think he has 30 meters and Bolt has 100. And it's a photo finish. And Al's brother's great at that, right? He did get the head out late, which is big. That's a talent that he brings to the table. All right, Jeff, Saturday coming up in about a half an hour. As we said in the previous segment, the Edmonton Oilers, the most interesting team in hockey. Like, they've supplied a lot of content for us the last couple of months, from the offer sheets, which I'm sure they didn't love, now the Draisaitl contract yesterday. And a lot of people think they are the team to beat, certainly in the West, if not in the NHL, chasing a Stanley Cup. We're joined now by their new general manager. Here is Stan Bowman joining us here on Overdrive. How you doing, Stan?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. I mean, you haven't been on the job long. Does it feel like it's only been a month and a half? You've had a lot to work with already.
I know. It's been a busy time. Usually summers are pretty slow when you get to August, but it hasn't panned out that way for us this year, but that's okay. It's certainly been interesting, and it's been fun to be part of it all.
Stan, I saw your media availability after you decided to not match the offers for Broberg and Holloway. And, you talked about your relationship with Doug Armstrong and just said, listen, we don't look at it as a personal thing. It's a business situation. And then once they came in, you guys, you and your management team had to hunker down and get to work and look at different options. So you ended up, choosing to walk away and head in different directions. So was that a tough thing to do, or basically you relied on the research of your group around you?
Well, sure. It was difficult. I mean, they're good young players, and it wasn't so much about whether we liked them as players or not. It was really more about where things were with our team and with the salary cap. And once we spent some time looking at what it would look like if we matched either offer or both, and then compare that to what our salary cap picture would look like if we decided to not match, it became pretty apparent that it made a lot more sense for us to go the direction that we did. And, we made some other moves around that same time to try to give our team, some added depth in some other positions. And, it was a tough situation, and I felt like we came out of it the best situation we could. And at the same time, we had been working on the Draisaitl contract kind of in the background. That wasn't, I guess, a front burner item for that media availability, but it was something that I was working on, and it was something that, I kind of had a feeling for where it was going. So that obviously played a factor into it as well. So, obviously there are unusual situations, offer sheets, especially two at the same time. But, I look at where we are now and the situation we came through it, and I think we're going to be good heading into the season.
And in terms of, evaluating those two players in particular, but taking the salary cap into play, like you mentioned, you were working on Leon's deal, and Leon signs yesterday officially. That'll kick in after this season. You know what you're going to pay him. It's a lot of money. He'll be the highest paid player in the league. We know what's coming with McDavid. We know what's coming with Evan Bouchard. When you're dealing with a scenario like the one that you just dealt with the Blues and the offer sheet, you had 7 days. How much of that time is just simply trying to project and trying to figure out exactly what you're going to have to pay these upcoming players, Draisaitl, McDavid, Bouchard? Like, do you have to know the numbers? Are you ballparking the numbers? How do you handle the projection of the salary cap, your team's salary cap, and apply it to the evaluation of whether or not you want to keep those players?
Yeah, it was an approximation. At that point in the negotiations, we weren't that far down the road. But I think we've done these long enough that you kind of have an idea of the range that it's going to end up. And it wasn't really, obviously we don't know about Bouchard or McDavid, so there's some uncertainty on what those numbers will be. But regardless, we know the general area, and if you plug that in and then you look at the two offer sheets, like there really was just no scenario where that would work. It would require several other moves, moving out other players off our roster that we just felt didn't make sense. So, we didn't have an exact idea of where the negotiations would conclude, but I had a rough estimate, which was good enough for our analysis at the time.
Stan, how early into the offseason were you informed from the Draisaitl camp that they in fact were interested to get a deal done? There's lots of speculation. Is he going to wait the year out and kind of leave everything hanging in the wind? Like, how early did you figure out that he wanted to stay and then he was going to make it happen with you guys and the Oilers?
Well, that was the first call that I made when I took the job. I called Mike and Leon both right that first day, just to let them know that was my number one priority. And that came up in the press conference when I started. They had asked about that, the negotiations, or my take on things. And, my comment then was the same as it was yesterday when I did the media, which is he's top priority. He's a fantastic player. He's a huge part of the team. And I made it known to them that he was the number one priority, and I wanted to meet with him, get to know him, kind of share my vision for him and for the team to, I guess, I don't know if convince is the right word, but just explain to him how I felt about his play and his role in our team and where we were headed. And then fortunately they liked that and they were interested in engaging, and off we went in the negotiations.
Stan, how important was it for the 8-year where Leon might have wanted a shorter term or something like that, where we've seen other players maybe not go the 8 years? What does that say about Leon committing for 8 years? And, was that something that you, again, without giving state secrets away, is that something that was on the table right away, or is it, were they willing to do that, or was there something shorter, or, 8 years, it's a big statement?
Yeah, it is. Well, I think it's a big statement from both sides, certainly that we want to commit to Leon, and then on the flip side that he wants to be here and part of Edmonton essentially for his career. So, yeah, I think with any negotiation, you have a lot of different conversations, and it was a very good dialogue with Mike Liut and Andy Scott. I thought it was a good collaboration throughout the negotiations, and ultimately this is the deal that we both felt made the most sense. So that's when deals get done, is when both sides are kind of pushing towards a common goal, and fortunately for us, it worked out that way.
With Stan Bowman, the GM of the Edmonton Oilers, you're obviously new to Edmonton, but you're not new to the NHL. You're familiar with Draisaitl, what he represents. The idea of having him and McDavid, like your history in Chicago, obviously you had Taves and Kane that would have been your most prominent forwards, one center, one winger. Like the idea of having these two players who may be the two best players in the world. McDavid undoubtedly is. Leon might be number two. Like you're stepping in here, that's already built and ready for you. Like how big of an advantage is it as the manager of the Oilers to have those two locked in and then working from there?
Oh, no question. And they're special players. And yeah, I've obviously watched them for many years, watched their performance, and they do so many remarkable things offensively. And I think they probably don't get enough credit for their all-around game. The competitive guys, they really want to win. They do everything and face-offs, and you see that they're just they have that unique ability that all the elite players do. That like when the game's on the line, it's usually just a few moments in a game or in a series when a lot of the series is very competitive and even one way or the other, and they can elevate their game in that one moment, make a special play, and just to set up a goal or score a goal. And that's ultimately what it comes down to oftentimes is who can elevate their performance in those pressure moments. I think that's what separates great players from exceptional players. And you watch, it's been interesting to watch Connor and Leon the last few years in the playoffs. Their playoff performance, they've been able to, as great as they've been in the regular season, they've been able to step it up even more, which is really hard to do. It's hard to be even more productive in the playoffs than you are in the regular season because the attention to the top players gets so much different. You know how it goes. You watch these playoff series and you play the same team in a 7-game series. They know all your tendencies. They really can focus on shutting you down. In the regular season, you're seeing a different team every night. They're dropping in for one game, and they don't have as much time to really game plan how to shut you down. So to see the way that Connor and Leon have been able to face that reality and still elevate their game, it's pretty impressive. And, fortunate to have them on our side. And, it takes a lot more than just two players to win. So that's what we're focused on is trying to use them as like the centerpiece, but we need to surround them with a lot of other pieces if we want to ultimately be the champions.
Stan, in your time in the game, is it somewhat easier to deal with elite players, whether it be Taves and Kane, Draisaitl? Like you're just going straight to a number that you kind of know everybody's talking about. Like you're not talking about a defenseman that wants 5 or 7. You're going straight north to a number that everybody kind of knows that you're going to be dealing with. How have you found elite contracts? Is it easier on you?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's easier. It's different in the sense that most other negotiations, you're focused sort of on their performance and you're comparing their production, or you're comparing their, other players that make this amount and how their performance ranks to theirs. When you're dealing with these players, like they're in this whole different category. So it's really less about trying to make an argument that they should be at a lower number. Because really, you look at their performance, like I was just talking about in Leon's case, this time around, like the numbers are very impressive. Like there's not much you can say a guy shouldn't be paid that. So it's probably less of a negotiation and more of a discussion or a conversation. So I don't know if it's easier. It's just a lot different than other negotiations.
Stan, you had a lot of success and won cups in Chicago. Is there a similarity with this, the way that this team is constructed to your teams in Chicago?
Well, there's some star players for sure. I think, the group in Chicago, obviously, the team had struggled for a while, and then when I got a chance to take over there, we had a really young group that was really all kind of coming together. It was Kane and Taves were emerging on the scene, but we had a bunch of other guys who'd spent a couple years in the minors, and they were ready to come in. And then we had guys like Hossa and Patrick Sharp that weren't, super young guys, but Hossa had come close a couple years previously. So there's certainly some similarities, but there are each team's a little bit different, and that's what I've tried to tell even people internally is, like last year was a great season for the Oilers, coming up, one goal short. But you really have to kind of turn the page on that. That's something I learned the hard way, which is, when you have a lot of success, whether you win or you don't win, you're in the final. You have a tendency to want to try to recreate the magic that got you there. And that's really not a great strategy. And I've tried to explain that, let's I guess, honor our past season. It was great, but let's turn the page on that and let's try to look forward, because the blueprint for this upcoming season is going to be different. And we have a lot of the same players, not all of them. Most of the main players are back, but we have some new players too. And we got to let this group forge their own identity as a group. So I think that's something that I learned, and hopefully I can help guide the group a little bit on that regard. Is let's not look backwards and try to recreate what was. Let's look forward and try to create something new.
Well, we look forward to dropping the puck and seeing how that plays out. Again, there's been a lot of news coming out of Edmonton, and we'll see what comes between now and day one of camp and then day one of the season. Thank you for doing this, Stan. We'll do it down the road.
Of course. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Stan Bowman, GM of the Edmonton Oilers. And, offer sheets and 8-year deals and – a bunch of guys going there. Jeff Skinner going there. Now you got Jeff Skinner and Stuart Skinner on the same team.
I know. Well.
You can't call Stuart Skinner Jeff Skinner if he's playing.
Well, you actually can.
It's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be a tricky one.
That'll be tricky.
Now, we'll get into this maybe closer to the puck drop for the regular season, but Jeff Skinner's, he might be in a position to have himself a year here if he ends up settling in on one of those, I guess the second line, because that top line's pretty much intact, I would think, if RNH is going to be on the left side. But it's interesting. There's a few guys that have an opportunity there to kind of put their mark, back, or their stake. Oh,
that Arvidsson, Jeff Skinner, like if they saddle up with Draisaitl and they start putting the puck in the net. And that's what you got to do. Anybody can get the call up there and get some shifts with those guys, but they're pretty particular on how to do business and the production side of it. And if you're not doing it, you're gone.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it works. It's not the players saying that, but they got to produce. That's why they get paid these contracts. And if you're not the one putting it in the net, somebody else is going to get the opportunity.
Yeah, they're not moving down the lineup. They're not the reason it's not working. You're the reason it's not working.
I'll tell you that Evander Kane him not being healthy was a big loss for that. Like he might have been an extra couple goals, because if you remember in playoff series in the past, there was McDavid, there was Draisaitl, and he was right behind him. He was always their third best player.
Yeah,
he was real good, man. He scored, he hit. He's a playoff guy. What is his status? Is he?
They're still trying to figure that out, how they're going to handle him, and it's complicated because of the salary cap, and he's got a pretty big hit.
Is he signed for this year?
Yeah.
He's got 2 more years at 5-2, but and they have, because they didn't match those offer sheets. My understanding, and this was listening to Stan talk right when he kind of took over, and after they didn't match those offer sheets, he said they wanted the flexibility to have Evander back whenever he's ready to play. Mm-hmm. So instead of having to have another injury and plug and play, like everyone's talking, he actually explained it pretty cleanly. He said the salary cap's very tricky. You're not accruing money throughout the season if you have guys on LTIR. So they don't have to start him on LTIR to actually have the flexibility. So he can come back whenever, but I don't think he's coming back anytime soon.
No, I don't think he's ready to play. No.
So it was, but he is, I agree, it was a couple years ago against Calgary where he was a difference maker. He was chasing Tkachuk around. He was a big, he was a force. He was scoring goals and kind of doing it. And they were able to get through Calgary there. But, not having a healthy Kane, that adds to your.
Well, they're the oldest team in the league too. Like that's another thing. Like they're the oldest team. Yes, they are, based on like age. And you look at their veterans, man. They got a lot of guys over 30. Like a lot of guys. So that's going to be a part of it too. Staying healthy.
That's a shocking statement. The Edmonton Oilers, the oldest team in the league.
Yeah,
well,
based on today,
Yeah,
Jeff Skinner's not young.
They added 2 older guys and took out 3, right? You take out Ryan McLeod, you take out Holloway, and you take out Broberg.
Yeah.
Those are 3 younger guys that were plugged and played. But, that Corey Perry doesn't help that stat either because what is he? Is he 40 now?
It'll be 30, 39, yeah.
So,
All right, more on that coming. We got to run here. Jeff Saturday's coming up. Jerry's coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Jeff Saturday, Jerry's percentages coming up in the next hour. And they had the NHLPA Rookie Showcase today. There was one player in attendance that I found very interesting, and I'll tell you who it is. I wonder if you guys find it interesting. We'll get into it into the next hour. I wonder if Jerry found it interesting. It's possible. And we're tracking the Jays as well. What a game that was last night, man. That was unreal. Schwarber's 3 bombs. What was he, 5 for 6 last night?
Yes.
Dude, if Vladdy home run, I was like, murder channels, like this is over.
It's
like
over.
Normal.
Yeah. Over.
I wake up there, they lose that game.
Vladdy was 4 for 5 last night. He hit that thing on a frozen rope. That is the definition of a roped home run. And it was a crazy, wild game last night. All right, hour 2 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.